Oh, sorry, you guys. I didn't realize you're here. Welcome to the Dr. G Show. Today, we're talking about food as medicine. So, caught me at a good time then. Here is my Brussels sprouts, asparagus, chives, and carrots that I roasted, right? So, I eat that because that's medicine. And so, as you guys come on, there's Mariah and there's Perry, Linda. Today we're going to talk about food as medicine. This is episode 127. And talk to Holly. She will be back, I think, next week. So that'll be pretty awesome. So you guys have probably missed Holly, and we always get questions like, where's Holly at? So Dr. G and the boss. It's just Dr. G without the boss right now. And yeah, there's Alfredo. Hey, Alfredo, how's it going? I did shave. I got my face shortened. Mariah says wine is food too. That's right. We'll talk about why wine is medicine. But which kind of wine is medicine is the question. There's Tim. And so, you know, I heard Valentine's Day is coming up. And I have a plan for Valentine's Day to make money. I'm going to be single on Valentine's Day, and this year I'll save $500. So you can too. It's a good investment. Except many of us are going to go to Terra Souls Yoga on next Thursday. Next Thursday night. And there is a whole new thing that she's going to do for people that go there all the time and for newcomers. And so people can come with their significant other one or some Tinder date that they met or girlfriend, boyfriend, and or you can go by yourself. And it's going to be about kind of reconnecting. And I tell you more, but I did not read all the description and I keep getting in trouble for that. So I read the synopsis. So I saw the picture. It was pretty good. So next week for Valentine's Day, just know that you guys can go to the Terra Soul Yoga at it's 7 to 9:30, and a lot of us go all the time, and it's awesome. So it's gonna do this little Valentine's Day kind of thing. So it won't be the super sexy yoga that we did at Mindful Meditation one time, where everybody it was an interesting time because we had a special guest, and she had us all pick a partner, and we had to sit knee to knee. So knees had to touch. We had to hold each other's hands and stare into each other's eyes. And I think it was like 15 minutes for one person, 15 minutes for the other. And so for like 30 minutes, we're staring eye to eye, holding hands, touching knees together. And 15 minutes, you're kind of like saying in your head like positive things about this other person and kind of pushing positivity towards them, and then for 15 minutes they do the same to you, right? And all I kept thinking was, don't fall in love, Dr. G, don't fall in love, because eye contact, touching, it's all how you make oxytocin, so you fall in love, right? So you have those prolonged gazes. So the thing is, I picked a guy. So there was either my friend's 16-year-old daughter, which I didn't think he'd be cool with that. And so I picked the new guy. And so I think it was Mike. And so we were doing that. And one of the things about guys is if you have prolonged eye contact with a guy, that's a fighting thing. That's an alpha thing. And so the first thing I kept thinking about was, man, he's just eyeballing me like he's about to fight, man. What's up? Right? So it was a really interesting experience. So anyways, it's not going to be that. That's called sexy yoga, or that's what I called it. And that was pretty crazy. So I know some of you guys that are on here, you should talk about your experience with that, because that was pretty fun. Well, it's very awkward and weird, and then just like every awkward, weird thing, it becomes a great story for later. That's why you never, ever, ever opt out of doing something that's dangerous, crazy, or weird, because you get great stories later, which is my whole entire life. So So, Holly will be on soon. We're doing Food is Medicine tonight. And as you guys know, we're also wanting to start the new Cooking After Dark with Dr. G. And I'm super excited about that whole thing because we want to have, with Cooking After Dark, we want to have a little record playing, so the guests will help provide a record, and then we'll make some great food, and we'll have a guest on, and we'll make some martinis or other drinks, and then we'll have jokes and play around and goof off. So that'll be fun. Like, I really, really think it's going to be an awesome experience. And I used to have that cooking show on TV that nobody watched on Channel 43 because where the hell is Channel 43? So, it's going to be nice to redo this. That was a live cooking show. This one I think we're going to have recorded, but we'll probably have a live audience. So if you guys have suggestions about what we should cook, who should we have as guests, what records should we play? As you guys know, I have a ton of records. And even what drinks should we make? Please let me know your thoughts on that. If you guys follow me on Facebook, you know that once a week, typically, I play my little record, and then I drink a little martini, and then or a little scotch or something, cognac, and then I prepare all my food, and I take pictures of it all and show everybody, right? But I really try to make it an event, like it's a thing. It's not this like, I gotta cook, I gotta make food. Food is medicine. Food is important. Food is the cure, right? So we want to really find a way to enjoy and reinvigorate that kind of feeling we have for food. So that's what we want to do with Cooking After Dark. So I hope you guys think that's a good idea. I have a very shady, silly, goofy, inappropriate sense of humor. As if you didn't know, I'm very sarcastic. I'm very fluent in sarcasm, partially fluent en français, mais je parle français toujours comme le Marseillaise pour closer à Roger de l'air, allons enfants de la patrie, right? So, more fluent in sarcasm than French. Man. So, we can have a lot of fun doing this. And actually, Alfredo should be on there too because he cooks. He's silly like me. That'd be a lot of fun. So, let me know your guys' thoughts about that. And today, we want to cover some ideas about food as medicine. Now, this is probably the one that people know the most about when they look me up online is the food as medicine. I do functional lifestyle medicine, right? So a couple postdoctoral diplomates in clinical nutrition, postdoc functional medicine, board certified in integrated medicine, Harvard Medical School, postgrad, continuing education in lifestyle medicine, and Yale. I don't want to bore you guys with that nonsense. But all that really means is figuring out ways that we're causing the problem so we can stop causing the problem. And food is truly actual medicine, right? In 100 years of pharmaceuticals, here is my textbook from medical school for pharmacology. Doesn't look so bad. Holy crap, right? This thing, it weighs like, I don't know, 5 pounds or 10 pounds. It's crazy heavy. And I don't know, there's like 4 billion pages. Only a couple thousand pages, right? So not too shabby for your first primary book in pharmacology. So this is all based off of, this food. That doesn't look that great and appetizing, but it's super delicious. It looks pretty gross, but it's really good, I promise you. So, food is where all medicine came from. So for pharmaceuticals, we have only been creating pharmaceuticals for 100 years. And we have not created anything from scratch yet. We just find things that work in nature, usually food, spices, herbs, roots, and then we take one chemical, we synthesize that, patent it, and sell it back to you. So if you think about like aspirin, the first blockbuster drug 100 years ago was from the bark of a willow tree. So you could go out to a willow tree if you had a headache, or heather if you have a tummy ache, and you could just eat a piece of bark off that tree and get rid of the pain without killing your stomach without killing your liver or kidneys in the process, right? Aspirin, ibuprofen, Advil, that's the #1 cause of kidney failure in the U.S., America. And then Tylenol is the leading cause of liver failure in the U.S., right? People that take ibuprofen or aspirin for greater than 2 weeks, 70% will end up with a GI bleed. Or I could eat this bark off a tree for dirt free, and then I get rid of the pain, right? So that's where pharmaceuticals started. 100 years later, the newest breast cancer medicine that's out is Taxol, and so it's a breast cancer chemotherapeutic, and it came from the bark of a willow tree, or bark of a yew tree, Y-E-W, right? Not you, not me. That means sheep. Y-E-W? That's a sheep tree. So anyways, it's from yew tree. So in 100 years of pharmaceutical magic, we went from bark to bark. So that's not too shabby. So when we look at something like, and see, Heather says, what the hell? I've been taking ibuprofen since 11 years old. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So just like low dose aspirin even, 10,000 people are saved by thinning the blood artificially, but 15,000 people will die from the side effects, right? Because blocking COX-1 enzyme pathway is the same pathway for pain and inflammation, but it's also the same pathway for mucus. So women that tend to take ibuprofen, Advil, that kind of stuff on a regular basis, it'll decrease mucus production. So vaginally, they should have lots of vaginal dryness. So as women get older and achier and, well, okay, I'll stop there. They should end up with often medication-induced painful sex or vulvodynia, that kind of stuff. But also for men and women, it'll be the nasal part. So they'll end up with all kinds of like dryness in your nose, and then they end up getting a lot more bacterial and viral infections, so more sinusitis, that kind of stuff too. So the other thing it blocks is thromboxane, which prevents the body from clotting, which then, if you are taking the mucus, which is the slime that's around the acid in your stomach, and you start making it thinner with the ibuprofen, it starts eroding into the lining of the stomach, hits a blood vessel, people start to bleed slowly, and then we just clot it off, but we block that pathway also. So it's a whole mess. So, anywho, so with food as medicine, we can look at things like spices, herbs, roots, but also the kind of foods and medicine concepts, right? So, one thing we might consider is like, say, inflammation. So think about food as medicine or food as the cause. So the first example might be, let's say we eat a bunch of corn-fed cows, right? Corn is high omega-6 inflammation. So then we end up with more inflammation. Literally the number one side effect of that, or say prediction for people that eat inflammatory cows or chickens or birds, is that they will increase pain and inflammation. Then hypertension, then arrhythmias, then clots for heart attack and stroke. But let's say I just eat a bunch of inflammatory meat. Go to my McDonald's, get my little cheeseburger on, and then I start having more inflammatory stuff. So I end up increase what are called prostaglandins. You have good prostaglandins, bad prostaglandins. And then that disrupts the arrhythmia of my heart. So the heart runs off of omega-3s, not omega-6s. So if I had high omega-6, 41 ratio, then I should start having some irregularities within the electro conversion of the heart and how it beats. So instead of doing lub-dub, 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 it goes lub-dub-dub-dub, or lub-dub, lub-dub, dub, 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 right? So then I just go ahead and say, well, you know what? I go to the doctor, get some arrhythmia medicine, which is pretty messed up. There's a lot of side effects. The main thing is you end up with low libido, so now your sex drive's gone, but your heart's not messing up, so I can keep eating that cheeseburger. It also then suppresses memory and interferes with memory production, so then they will end up with being forgetful, but that's okay because they forget to have sex, so the low libido doesn't seem to matter, and they're too tired anyways because fatigue is the next major side effect from that. So I end up eating inflammation, having a side effect from that inflammation, treating that with medication, and then having side effects of that are worse than what I already started with. So that's the typical medical model of what we see. We eat inflammation, then treat inflammation. But as I always say, with functional lifestyle medicine, anything that you have going on that's chronic is something that you're chronically doing. It's what you're eating, drinking, breathing, rubbing on your skin, or stressing, right? So what if we do it from a lifestyle approach? What if we switch to grass-fed, grass-finished meat, which is actually about a 2-to-1 ratio instead of a 40-to-1 ratio? And so, again, animals that are grass-fed, grass-finished, wild-caught, free-range, they eat where the hell they want to eat. They're going to have high omega-3 fatty acids. Then, instead of omega-6 being dominant, omega-3 is dominant, and then your heart seems to beat normal. Because, especially when it comes to omega-3s, you actually decrease cardiovascular disease 9 different ways. Now, as Alfredo mentions, he's a vegan, right? And single because he's a vegan. And yeah, you don't have to have meat. We're just using meat for this explanation. So, Alfredo, don't be a hater. Hate the game, not the player, right? So, you can eat high omega-3 or high omega-6 fatty acids from plants too, right? Eat what cow eats, whether it's healthier or not healthy. So, if you eat the anti-inflammatory, then you eat a bunch of, like, say, omega-3 rich foods like chia and flax and fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, legumes, greens, then your heart just works normally, and then you don't have to be on a medication to manage your bad food. You can still eat those hamburgers, but you want to eat ones that don't cause the problem and then manage it medically. So we want to think of food as medicine, but really the first thing is don't cause the problem. Same thing with someone that eats high glycemic, right? So one of the easiest things in the world to do is reverse type 2 diabetes. It is 100% caused and it's 100% reversible. So they eat high glycemic foods, or we eat 150 pounds of added sugar to our diet in 50 different names. So maltodextrin, dextrose, dextrin, glucose, all that stuff. Then your body responds by overproducing insulin. So the sugar spikes really fast, we overproduce insulin, and then suddenly we crash. But now the brain needs sugar to function, and so then we just end up eating more sugar or stressing, and we produce something called epinephrine, norepinephrine, or cortisol to get blood sugar back up to normal without more sugar. So too much sugar, drops too low, I'm hypoglycemic, and then I feel faded, and then my body uses epinephrine to increase it. That epinephrine then increases my blood pressure, and it increases endothelians, and so then I get diagnosed with hypertension. I get anti-hypertension medicines. My body then responds by raising blood pressure through another way because I keep doing the same thing with my diet. So then I end up on another med, and I have a bunch of side effects, right? So it starts out with hydrochlorothiazide, then a beta blocker, then a ACE inhibitor, then an ARB, and then a calcium channel blocker, and then you still end up having hypertension because you're causing it, right? So with food as medicine approach, you just say, well, what if I just ate normal glycemic food or low glycemic food, which is fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, legumes, and greens, and drink lots of water, and then my blood pressure goes back to normal, right? It is very simple to fix the most complicated patients because we just cause these problems. So, with food as medicine, if you think about like heart disease, right? Now, you guys know cholesterol does not cause heart attacks, right? But when you look at heart disease and diet, right? Heart disease is caused by inflammation, not cholesterol. Because if we believe cholesterol does it, that's because we believe that God made cholesterol bad to only kill Americans because he hates our freedom, right? Because if you have high cholesterol anywhere else in the world, you have fewer heart attacks. In fact, the least amount of heart attacks. If we drive down cholesterol too low, well, then we end up with more heart attacks. So it's this messed up thing that we do to sell medications in America. But let's look at like real, actual lifestyle factors, and then think about our diet when it comes to heart disease. So the first major cause to inflammatory heart disease is low omega-3s. Omega-3s are grass-fed, grass-finished, wild-caught meat, fruits and vegetables, flaxseed, chia seed, all those kind of things, healthy things. Well, the average American eats mostly inflammatory meat and one fruit or vegetable a day. Most vegetarians, except for Alfredo, who's also single, they just are really sugartarians. So a lot of vegetarians eat just crap, and they're like, this candy bar isn't meat. So that's not helpful. So, low omega-3s is the first problem. High insulin levels and high glucose. So same thing we talked about. If I eat a bunch of things that convert to sugar, I drop that blood sugar too low and I overproduce insulin. Too much sugar, too much insulin from high glycemic foods. Not fruits. Fruits are low glycemic. So 80% of all the sugar in a fruit binds to the fiber, makes fructooligosaccharides, which then feeds gut bacteria to then make B vitamins, so you feel awesome and you can think straight and have plenty of energy. And then it makes butyrate, which is actually the thing that feeds DNA polymerase, which edits out mutations, so it fixes DNA at the rate of 10,000 times a day per cell. That's crazy. So just basic fruit, right? Real fruit's not glycemic. Thank you, Mariah. Mariah said I'm a genius. So Heather says, what does Snickers do? Snickers raises your blood sugar and causes type 2 diabetes. Especially, I took that picture that my daughter had. They had a Snickers that was as long as her arm, man, when she was like, girl, that's crazy, right? One Snickers is equal to 7 apples of sugar. So, but no one became diabetic off an apple, or even 7 apples, but you became diabetic off of Snickers. Snickers satisfies your doctor's ability to prescribe insulin or metformin. How about that? So then you have low vitamin D. And we have low vitamin D in America as an epidemic for 2 reasons. One, vitamin D is made from cholesterol, just like testosterone, progesterone, cortisol, anti-aging hormone, DHEA. If you take a drug like statins, you lower vitamin D because it's made from cholesterol. If you take a statin, you lower testosterone, you lower your sex drive, you lower your get up and go. So, first rule is don't cause the problem. Don't take red yeast rice because then you're just lowering it naturally, right? So then you have no sex drive, you have no get up and go, you don't feel good, but at least your cholesterol's low and then you're more likely to have a heart attack. In America, right? So, low vitamin D. The other thing about vitamin D is we believe the sun causes cancer, which is ridiculous unless, I'll put it out there, unless we believe that God made the sun to kill mostly Americans, mostly recently, because he hates our freedom. Now, I think that's true. So in 1935, America had this much skin cancer. We added benzene, we get that much skin cancer. We add PABA, which is paraminobenzene, and it goes that high. And then by the 1980s, we add oxybenzone, it goes that high. And then we add oxybenzone, and then it goes that high. So each time we add benzene, the flammable part of gasoline that we use to cause cancer in a laboratory, to lotion to protect us against sun, so we can get rid of that tiny little bit from 1935, we end up increasing the cancer. So one perspective is that the chemical that causes cancer that we put in the lotion to protect you from the UV rays actually is what causes the cancer. Or every time America gets more freedom, we get more skin cancer because the sun hates the freedom, right? Which is really messed up because if the sun caused cancer, the equator, where the sun's the greatest, has the most UV rays, that would be where all the cancer is. But that's not where any skin cancer is. None. Because they have less freedom. The sun doesn't hate the equator people because they don't have freedom like we do, right? This is America. Okay, I'm not getting into all of that. So, you guys are posting funny stuff. So, all right. So, it could be freedom, but the sun does not cause cancer, right? Even if you're fair-skinned, right? Those gingers should have died in Scotland and Ireland from the sun, but the sun doesn't cause that much skin cancer there because they have less freedom than the gingers in America, right? And 3 out of my 4 daughters are gingers. So I have to be careful because the sun hates our freedom. So I got to take away their freedom so they don't get skin cancer. So anyways, with heart disease, if you're not out in the sun, you don't get your vitamin D. So, Heather says preach it. All right. I gotta go get in the sun when the sun. All right, that's Southern Baptist. So then there's high homocysteine. High homocysteine is through the homocysteine pathway, and homocysteine is lowered through methyl B12 and through B6 or peroxidine phosphate. Those two vitamins come from beans, greens, fermented foods. So what do Americans don't eat? Fermented foods and beans and greens. So that kombucha reverses heart disease. That all right. That kombucha, the kimchi, right? That lowers heart disease. It lowers homocysteine. It helps make B vitamins. Every time you eat fruits and vegetables, all that fructooligosaccharides from that fruit and sugar actually goes and lowers your risk of heart disease by pumping up your B vitamins through your gut bacteria. Then there's low testosterone. Well, it's low because we have exhausted it by taking things like statins, red yeast rice, and even niacinamide. Then there's high estrogen. And the high estrogen they're talking about is estradiol. So if we take synthetic estrogen and put it in birth control and give it to girls as young as 16 or younger if you're like in Kentucky or something, we can actually cause them to have a heart attack or stroke in the prime of their life by that synthetic estrogen. If we take that synthetic estrogen with estradiol or E2 and we give it to postmenopausal women, the older ladies, mature ladies, I'm stopping there. Then we can increase the risk of heart disease up to 87% within the first year of prescribing that, which is why they stopped the Women's Health Initiative. The largest hormone replacement study they did in America on American women was stopped because the scientists said it was unethical to watch this go on with these women. Unethical. But do we still prescribe it? Hell yeah, right? It's money. So, ain't nobody want to change their lifestyle to balance hormones? That's crazy talk. So then there's low nitrous oxide. So nitric oxide is actually made from arginine, which is in food. So you eat food, and then you store nitrous oxide in all your skin, and then when you go out in the sunlight, it requires to go out in the sun, you release that and it dilates your blood vessels. And then all of a sudden your blood pressure plummets and you have normal low blood pressure, normal, say, blood pressure, right? But if we don't go out in the sun, then that nitrous oxide doesn't do jack squat for us. And that's the stuff that men take if their woohoo doesn't, if their Yahoo doesn't woohoo, right? So instead of taking Viagra, they just need to go out in the sunlight a little bit. Just a little bit. Just like 50 Cent. Just a little bit. Just go out in the sun a little bit. So then there's inflammation. And we said that Americans eat 40 times the inflammatory fatty acids as the anti-inflammatory. So that goes back to that diet of eating anti-inflammatory. Then we have low HDLs. There's no medication for HDLs. HDLs are good cholesterol. There is no bad cholesterol because God doesn't make bad cholesterol. And he doesn't hate Americans. He just allows us to have an inflammatory diet and suffer. So HDLs and even large fluffy LDLs actually protect the heart. But you get those from movement. That's crazy. And nuts and seeds and healthy foods, right? Healthy fatty acids. So the average country, like say something in Europe, people walk about 10,000 steps a day. The average New Yorker walks 5,000 steps a day. The average Kansan, where I'm from, Heartland, Heart Attack Land, we walk about 2,500 steps a day. How many of you guys track your steps? What do you guys walk, right? Most people walk from places to sit or lay down. So they walk from the bed to the couch, from the couch to the table, from the table to the car, from the car to the elevator, elevator to their desk, and then they go it all in reverse, right? Most people don't move hardly at all. And that's something like my job where I'm seeing patients all day, I have to fight that. So I have to, in between, get up, walk around, keep little spaces in my schedule and go for walks around town. And so even when I work in Old Town, I'll walk all the way down to Delano District, and then walk back, which is, I don't know, a couple miles, but maybe 3 miles total. I don't know. But it's okay. Like, you wouldn't do it before, but you have to make those changes. So Kim says she walks 5,000 to 7,000. She's all New York up in here, right? So that's pretty good. I just track what I walk. I don't know. There's apps on your phone you can track, like we use those for hiking. So you want to get up to about 10,000 steps. And Americans, what we do is we do nothing, and then we go to a gym to do the stuff we wouldn't do. Americans walk so little and move so little that they actually will pay a gym so that they can drive to there, park as close as they possibly can, to walk on a treadmill. And then be all excited that they walked on a treadmill, right? They'll take the elevator to the treadmills, they'll take the escalator to the treadmills, and then brag about how long they walked on the god dang treadmill. So we pay to drive somewhere to walk, which is cray-cray. So those HDLs, those high density lipoproteins, those are life. Those are lifestyle markers, and I love those because you can't fake that stuff. You have to be eating and healthy. Sherilyn's at 2 Gs, so that's pretty good. That's Kansas. You're doing Kansas good. And then we have oxidized LDL. So we say, oh, cholesterol's bad, right? And then we say, well, okay, 70% of those come in the emergency room for heart attack or stroke. And now in America, they have artificially lower cholesterol, are more like 70% more likely to have a heart attack or stroke. You are now more likely to have a heart attack and stroke by lowering cholesterol. So then they back crawled out of that, and they said, well, let's back up here. Maybe it's not total cholesterol. We were just kidding about that. It's probably LDL, right? But LDL, there's A pattern and B pattern, and A pattern is large and fluffy and protects the heart. B pattern is small and dense and repairs the heart. So if we keep damaging the heart, it keeps repairing the heart. Other countries go back and they deplaque the arteries, so they fix all that fix, but we don't. So it becomes space-occupying lesion. So oxidized, which is from not enough antioxidants like fruits and vegetables, but also oxidized LDLs from too much sugar. So sugar causes advanced glycylation end products, age. So Heather actually asks, what is the best phone app? Well, my favorite phone app is Skype, and I really like the Amazon app, and I bet you're talking about walking apps. I don't know. That's a good question. My friends use one for hiking, but I don't know what that is. So if you guys have, Heather wants to know, if you guys have apps, what's the best one for walking or tracking your walking? I don't know. I think there's one actually in the health section, like in the health area, I think. I don't know. And then we have high triglycerides. High triglycerides, now a lot of docs will tell you triglycerides are fat, but they failed physiology. So triglycerides is triglycerol, right? So it's 3 sugars on a fatty acid, and basically triglycerides are sugar converting to fat. So if we consume more sugar than we can make fat, there's a lot then that's in transit. So triglycerides are from eating too much sugar. It's America. Then we have low vitamin K. So vitamin K is from greens. And Americans ain't gonna eat no greens. That's crazy talk. So we want to eat lots of vitamin K rich food, which is from greens. So in the beginning, a little romaine lettuce is okay, but bok choy and kale and chard and spinach, beet greens, dandelion greens. You can go out in your yard and you get some free dandelion greens, or you can go to the health food store and buy them. So, I think we're being scammed there. So low vitamin K becomes a problem because vitamin K, especially K2 and K7, they actually help bring vitamin D to reverse cardiovascular disease more so than kind of plaquing a little bit in the arteries. So repairing the arteries. Then there's high fibrinogen. And a Swedish study in Sweden, which I should probably go there and test this out, they said fruits and vegetables are one of the biggest ways to undo fibrinogen. So fibrinogen is what makes fibrin, and fibrin then makes clots, which then causes heart attack and stroke. So eating lots of fruits and vegetables scrub the arteries clean. Zhejiang University in China said that drinking green tea deplaques your arteries, but it's kind of biased. I mean, a Chinese university saying tea cures everything. I mean, that's like going to Texas, TCU, and then they're like, well, actually, barbecue cures everything. So, seems biased. But green tea is not only epigenetic and changes your genes, but it's also something that reverses the plaquing, or not plaquing, the clotting in the arteries. And then Harvard said nuts and seeds and red wine do that too. And then the last thing is high blood pressure. And high blood pressure is caused by all those things, plus stress, plus dehydration, or a combination of those things. Heather says, what's green tea? What is the best green tea you recommend? So that's a good question. I went to a tea seminar once. This acupuncturist, oh shoot, she has a famous name too. But she was teaching it, and I thought, I'll show up, right? You know? And I didn't think I'd get a lot out of it. Man, I was taking so many notes. I didn't know all this stuff. So, first thing is with green tea. So, green tea, yellow tea, white tea, oolong tea, and black tea are all the same tea. It's all the same plant. They pick the top 3 leaves up, throw it in their basket, and then it's how long they oxidate it by how long it changes, or what colors it changes, right? So, quick question, quick answer. Heather says, how often should you drink green tea? At least once a day. Women who drink 3 to 5 cups of green tea can cut the risk of heart disease in half, which in a country where you are more likely to have a heart attack than me, because women gotta be number 1, yo, right? So women are like, we're not gonna be the second to heart disease. We're gonna be number 1. You know, man gonna take away a glass, or create a glass ceiling for heart attacks? You guys overcame. Women! Alright, so that's because women do eat and stress the same as men, but women also have to deal with men. So, more likely to have heart attack and stroke now. Good job, women. Number 1. So, 3 to 5 cups, at least 1 a day, right? But with green tea, one of the biggest things is you want green tea, white tea, yellow tea, because those are antioxidant. They have theophylline in there, epigalic acid, which turn on and off very specific genes in your body. And then it also has theanine in there with a little bit of caffeine, like 10 to 25 milligrams. Nobody gets jacked up on green tea. So, that little bit of theanine is called nootropic medicine. You can buy supplements for this, take medications, or you can drink your cheap-ass green tea. So, the top green teas are going to be, basically if you go to the health food store, you have the top. So, the top shelf, you have matchas and sencha, and then you have the next and the next, and then you have like $5 and $3, and then you have like $1.50, and then it goes down from there. So, you should be about $3 and above probably for your tea. There's a whole grading system. There's 8 different grades, from orange peyote to whatever, and that's based on how damaged the leaves are. So with antioxidants, you want the least amount of damage with it. So you can be a tea snob and be like, I only do gunpowder tea. And gunpowder tea is where it's rolled up perfect leaves, right? I have some of that. I don't want to brag, but I only let the good patients drink that. So gunpowder tea is whole leaf tea. So when you put it in, it unrolls like that. Whereas, most tea is all shredded up, and so it has more damage, which has a little bit more oxidation to it, and that's your ghetto tea. So, which is what most people drink. Yeah. So you see them in tea bags, right? So, or actually, that's not ghetto tea. That's regular tea. The floor sweepings or the last little crappy grating stuff, that's the ghetto tea. That's Lipton tea, right? So, gunpowder tea is really good. The other thing is, what if we take that tea and we powderize it? So you don't just drink tea soaked in tea leaves, you drink the whole leaf. So matcha and sencha are powderized green teas. So these are true pure medicines. And used to, in China, only the religious could drink tea. That's why Japanese, it's that matcha is a part of the religious ceremony, which when I was in Japan, that's one of the things we did is we went to a matcha or a tea ceremony. It was this whole thing. But that's whole leaf. That means you get everything in there, which is amazing. There's a whole list of things that help from anti-inflammation to brain function that are in tea leaves. So if you get that whole leaf green tea from matcha or sencha, you're getting everything, right? Now you can actually take tea leaves, your tea bags, empty them into soups and sauces, and eat your tea, right? I mean, that's okay. It actually gets an extra bonus of nutrition in your food. So with matcha is green tea that's under shades. So you have people that they'll do tomatoes and they put the sheets over there so that they don't get direct sunlight, so they're more milder. So matcha tea is a little bit milder, M for milder. Sencha tea is straight in the sun. So sencha as sun, so sun and mild. So it's a bit stronger for you. But both of them wonderful medicinal things. Then gunpowder tea. Then you have things like stash and yogi and triple leaf, and those are all wonderful teas. So basically try to stay about $3 and above for them. And then you have got good tea. So that's our tea question. How much tea? Oh, and the other thing about tea, and again, this idea of medicine, right, is tea and red wine are both medicine. They're part of what the healthiest, happiest, longest living populations on Earth consistently do. But one of the things to talk about is why or how we're drinking that tea, right? On Radiolab on NPR on Saturdays, I think it's A Story with a Beat is what they call it. He talks about his friend showed him how to make matcha tea from scratch, right? And basically there's a little whisk and there's a whole thing that you got to do with it. And he said if you do one thing right all day, start with the green tea. Do it the right way each time. And so that way at least you start the day with this one thing that you did right and perfect. And the other thing is green tea, white tea, yellow tea should be hot tea. Wine should be red wine. There's two big benefits to this. Is one, we get all the medicinal value of the tea. The other part is you cannot gulp hot ass tea, which means that you sip it slower, which means you slow down, you talk more, you socialize more. Even my friend went to China to go to a seminar, and in the big airport, it's one of the biggest in the world. Can't think of the name of it, but one of the biggest ones in the world is in China. And there's an alarm that goes off, and then everybody, hustling and bustling, stops and they go have their tea. And so I love that idea. It's the same way as like you think about cricket, right? It's a ridiculous game, but in the middle, it's all right. Let's everybody calm down, have a little tea, and be at peace with ourselves. American is get jacked up and eat your hot dog and drink a soda, right? So we're all getting jacked up and crashing all the time. But other countries, the part of why you drink tea is to slow down and calm down and socialize more. Same with red wine. If you drink beer, bam, you could chug it, right? Chug, chug, chug. That's what happened last night. No. And then, if you do white wine, you can chug it. If you do mixed drinks, you can chug it. If you do martinis, you can chug that martini, right? No, you can't do that. It's too hard. It's hardcore. But red wine is different. Most people cannot chug red wine because it's a very strong flavor, which means you go back to sipping. And you drink it very slowly. So you want your green tea, you want your medicine, but you don't want to chug your medicine. You want to do it in the right ways, right? So many people will be like, well, Dr. G said to drink at least 2 cups of red wine, so like that, I'm done. Red wine, I'm healthy now, right? But we also want the social. We're the biopsychosocial, sexual, spiritual beings. We have to have these parts met to these things. It means more than just the food. So with red wine, it has all these wonderful medicinal things, but you don't want to drink sweet red wine. So, and really with red wine, if you guys watched Corked, you figured out that really wine doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the brands. Buy what you like, drink what you enjoy, right? So, I know that if I drink, I had a friend over and we cooked and I bought some Il Bastardo, which I love that label because it's this fat dude on a moped and he's got, he looks sleazy a little bit and he's got his little wine stuff on the back of his moped and stuff. It's funny as hell, label. But it gave me a horrible headache, which a lot of people get headaches with that stuff, usually from sulfites. But if I drink a Malbec, I never get headaches. If I drink a Shiraz, which are actually the same thing from different areas, I don't have that problem. If I drink a mixed red or Argentinian, I don't have problems with that. So some reds, if they cause problems, don't drink those. Find another one and try those. Malbecs are really nice because Malbecs are enjoyable wines, right? A Spanish mix is an enjoyable wine. A Syrah, they're enjoyable. So they're not sweet, but they're also not like Cab Savs, or Merlots. So they're not as potent. So that's one thing to consider when you drink red wine as medicine. It's great for your heart, great for your mood, all that kind of stuff, right? So, one of the things to consider when we talk about food as medicine, and time flies when you're having fun. If you guys have questions, keep posting them. Without Holly, we usually don't follow along. I'm usually talk, and then I don't ever read y'all's questions till later. But I think I'm pretty good at keeping track of you guys. Always feel free to keep posting, and I'll try to answer questions later too. Hey, there's David too. And I know a lot of you guys, again, watch this offline, and so make sure that you guys feel free to still post. Heather says, all in moderation. That is exactly what I told the police when they found, a couple ounces of crack on me. I said, whoa, I'm not overdoing it. Moderation, right? And then I ran. I probably should have said that. Damn it. All right. So, no, with red wine, the Sardines, they drink half a carafe of red wine, which is, 3 or 4 glasses, I think. So, between 1 and 3, part of it is, are you drinking to get inebriated? Are you drinking to forget? Are you drinking for health? But most countries, 90% of all of the countries, they tend to eat together and they'll drink red wine during their lunches, right? So they'll have that kind of like taking the edge off a little bit with it. But again, they also have an hour to 2 hours for lunch, so it's out of their body by then too. So we're Americans, we're like 90% of Americans eat alone, usually in their car, eating fast food, and so we end up having lots of stress instead of relaxation with our drink. And so then they're drinking red wine in a or brown paper bag, and they're in the park drinking. So not too much red wine, if that's even a thing. Oh, so food as medicine, right? And so Linda says, about the plant paradox. Okay, so Linda's got a good point there, but it's bullshit. So I don't know if you're just saying about the thing. So that is nonsense. That plant paradox bullshit. So I have a book that says, if you eat saponins, you're gonna die, or lectins, you're gonna die, or nightshades, you're gonna die. And eventually, if you get through all these gimmicks, you can't eat anything. So with the plant paradox, what you say is, okay, is this true? Is this what animals do? Right? If an animal eats nightshades, do they get thyroid problems? If they eat lectins or saponins, do they have digestion problems? No. And that's because what books like that do is they cherry pick or proof text the information to support their ideology so that they can write a book or have a complicated thing, or, where everybody says one thing like coconut oil is going to cure everything. No, it's not. And then you have somebody be like, coconut's poison, it's going to kill everyone. Well, no, it's not, right? So people proof text what they want to support their ideology, but it's not what animals do in nature. It is not what the healthiest, happiest, longest living populations do. So if you look at something like soy, right? You'll read books where it says soy is going to cause cancer. Well, in the countries that eat the soy, they don't have all those cancers, right? So that's not true. If you look at something, and in fact, flaxseed has 3 times as many phytoestrogens, and phytoestrogens protect you against so it's a whole mess. So that's bullshit. So same thing about saponins and lectins. Saponins and lectins actually do beneficial things in the body. They are good for us. But because they also have inflammatory properties or negative effects, then you can write a book and say how they're going to kill everybody. But that's not what the healthiest, happiest populations do. And nature is always balanced. So the things that interfere with thyroid also promote thyroid. The things that interfere with histamines also decrease histamines. Nature's always balanced. If we didn't have a textbook and we just walked around and ate things, we would be fine. If we went to any other country in the world and ate and drank and lived like they do, we would be fine. But Americans, we get so caught up in all these kind of gimmicks, and again, I'm not dissing you with this, right? Because again, it's just a book. I have hundreds of books and they all disagree with each other, right? And so it creates this constant paradox of like, well, if it's bad, then why is it not bad here? Well, that's a paradox. I'll write a book about that. But what we wouldn't do is simplicity. Simplicity cures. Complexity is what sells and complicates things and makes it hard to figure stuff out. But I have all these patients that come in with all these crazy diets, and they're like, what should I do? I'm like, you should forget all that nonsense. Eat real food, get exercise, drink lots of water, have social time, do all these things, and stop causing the problem. And then all the complicated stuff just goes away. It's simplicity. Food as medicine is simplicity. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said, let medicine be your food, food be your medicine. But more importantly, he said, never treat by the chemist's pot that which you can treat by diet first. Stop causing the problem. Even when there's only natural medicine in 300 BC, don't take herbs if you're causing the problem. Food is how you stop causing the problem. All right, got me all excited. Which, by the way, now this tea, I like this one. This is Twa Ikawa. Oh, sweet and spicy. So, sweet and spicy is not caffeinated anyways, but this is a fabulous one. This one I'm drinking right now. But I also have a little bit of frosted lemon cake by Stash, which is delicious and non-toxic. So, I think we're going to have a part 2 to this thing. One thing I want to leave you with. So, our time went really fast, right? One thing I want to leave you with is in the year 2000, things radically changed in America. Because in 2006, the American diet became the leading cause of preventable death over smoking. It was now better to smoke cigarettes than to eat like an American. It's better for your children to smoke cigarettes than to eat school lunches. Let's think about that for a little bit. I grew up constantly, smoking's bad, right? So now they say the food that people eat is worse than smoking 5,000 toxic cancer-causing chemicals. That's how bad the American diet is, right? World Health Organization said American processed meat, so just processed meat in America, is now more likely to cause cancer than smoking cigarettes. That is insane. So, why is that? Because we put cancer-causing chemicals in there that are worse than the cancer-causing chemicals we put in the cigarettes. So things like nitrates are what we use to cause cancer. So it's cray-cray. But food can cure, food can kill. But food is always your medicine. It's always the first-line therapy. We are just biochemistry that eats biochemistry that supports our biochemistry. So a lot of times people get really upset with all this stuff. And back when I used to teach anatomy and physiology, they would be like, Dr. Garrett, everything causes cancer. No, everything that causes cancer that we put in the things that we eat, drink, breathe, rub on our skin, and wear cause cancer. But the cure is simple. The cure is always simple. Stop causing the problem. Eat fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, berry, legumes, and greens. Don't eat till you're full. Just eat till you're not hungry. There's no other food rules out there. You want to eat 3 meals? Eat 3 meals. You want to eat 7 meals? Eat 7 meals. You want to eat breakfast for dinner and dinner for breakfast? Yeah, you can do that because you're an adult, right? You can do what the hell you want to do. Just do healthy things. So, Linda says we should have part 2. I think we might end up with part 12. All right. So, 2006, the American diet became the leading cause of preventable death over smoking. So next week, let's pick up on this, and we'll do Food is Medicine Part 2. All right, and before that, Tanya LeBrun says, what do you think of protein powders? I think protein powders are 100% unnecessary, more likely to cause problems than benefit. Here's the kicker with this. So, in the 90s, the idea was how to create more profit from foods. The way that you create more profits in a company is by selling your waste products. So in the cheese manufacturing, they dump out all the whey protein out in the creek, but how could we sell this? It's full of protein. So what if we could convince people they are protein deficient, and then we could sell them these big bulk powders that they got to use or else they're going to die, right? So most Americans think they're one hamburger away from killing over, but no one realizes that that hamburger is a vegetarian. The biggest, strongest animals on earth are vegetarians. If you want to be strong as a rhinoceros, it eats salad and walks around. You want to be strong as a horse, it eats salad and walks around. You want to get beefed up like a horse, as strong as a horse? Well, it doesn't eat no cow. It eats salad and walks around. So, the simplicity is, fruits and vegetables will give you more protein than you will ever need. You will not be protein deficient if you eat real food. A handful of nuts, handful of seeds has 120% of your daily protein. One serving of cow, one serving, has 90%. You get more from nuts and seeds. If you had 2 eggs, which seems like a good source of protein, that's 50% or 48% of your daily protein. But one handful of quinoa is 60% of your daily protein. The reason the biggest, strongest animals on earth can get the most muscle mass, 2,500 pound rhinoceros, 1,200 pound cow, right? I don't know, 2,000 pound horse. The reason they can get that big and that strong from eating salad all day is because salad contains protein. Everything has everything you need in it, and if you eat real food, you don't have to figure it out. So what happened with the protein powders is everybody started doing these whey powders, and then companies started making crazy money, and then people found out that whey is horribly allergenic, right? Whey, casein, and gluten are the most allergenic for things like eczema, psoriasis, irritable bowel, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, migraines, all that stuff. So then people said, well, okay, we got to do something else. So we'll do green protein. So then they switched from whey protein from dairy, which is from a vegetarian animal, to pea protein. And then nobody tells them, dude, cut the shit. You're eating peas, right? You are getting jacked up buying big bulks of powder from peas. You're eating peas. Just like a freaking animal, right? Just eat fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, legumes, and greens, and you'll get all the protein you need. So you never need protein powders. Ever do you need protein powders. Ever. So, even one day, I always take pictures of my stuff and my food that I eat, right? And most people are just like, dude, what the hell? But one day I had a bowl of cauliflower and I had 3 peppers and then I had 3 or 4 cutie oranges, little small cutie oranges. And the first question I got was, where do you get your protein, Dr. G? And then my initial answer is, everything is protein. But then I thought, I should look it up. That was a third of my daily protein. A handful of cauliflower, 3 or 4 cutie oranges, and 3 or 4 peppers was 1/3 of my total daily protein. As a grown-ass man, right? Let alone a little lady or kids. So, it's that easy. You don't need those protein things. They're just wasting your money. And never do the synthetic proteins because that amino acid blend can mess up your neurotransmitters. Because your gut is not amino acid selective. It just picks 100. So if you decide, I should do tons of arginine, well, you ain't going to get the other ones and you're going to have some problems. All right. So that's my soapbox. Holy crap, that hour went fast. I feel like I never stopped talking. You guys had great questions this time. So, a couple things next week. We'll talk about the heart so we'll do food as medicine concentrated around the heart because it's Valentine's Day, which we said the best way to make money on Valentine's Day is not to spend money on Valentine's Day, to stay single. So, that's way. But, you got to go to Terra Soul Healing Arts, Terra Soul Yoga, Tara Scott on Facebook, and she's having a Valentine's Day thing for meditation, yoga. It's something. I didn't read it. I'm so sorry. I'm going to it anyways, so I don't bother reading it if I'm going to it. But look it up and read it. I'll try to post it again. So that's the thing that's going on Valentine's Day too. So if you're single, you can go to that. And if you have a couple, you can still go to that. It's all good. So, Cooking After Dark. So you guys keep your recommendations about the new show, Cooking After Dark with Dr. G. What records, what food, what drinks should we have? Who should we have as guests? And then hopefully Holly will be back next week and we'll talk about Food as Medicine Part 2. Heart, Food as Medicine. I don't know, something like that. All right. You guys wasted another hour with me. I'm sorry. I love you guys. Thank you guys for joining and being a part of this. We're episode 127, I think. That's pretty awesome. So I hope this helps you guys. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Bye, y'all. Y'all.